But look at Marc Farzetta having a shot glass here. Are you having your eggnog? I have to ask.
What the hell do you want? No, that's espresso. That's espresso. Yeah.
Look at that.
Literally, yeah.
That's beautiful, Mark.
Yeah, that's my second of the day already.
So you're already fired up.
Yeah, I did my show, and then I was like, I'm going to need another shot of espresso. I got to do this again, and boom, here I am, my friend. And you really got my mind in a pretzel when it's come to the whole glass half full, glass half empty type thing. Because I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, it's half full when you're filling it. It's half empty when you're drinking it or you spilled it. And then I went into a different vortex. I don't know. My mind's in a pretzel. Hopefully I can concentrate on football. Anyway, good morning.
Yeah, so it's almost like blitzing, right? You know,
yes.
We want to talk about blitzing, and everybody goes, blitz, 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 blitz. Well, let me tell you something about when the Eagles blitz. The opposing quarterback is an 81.8 passer rating, which is third best in the NFL. So it is good they blitz, right? But it is 10 points higher than when they don't blitz. So I don't know what you want.
Yeah, but like, here's the thing. The Eagles didn't have a lot of sacks last week in blitzing scenarios. They had a lot of sacks because, like, the week before, they won their one-on-one battles. Brandon Graham won his one-on-one battle. Josh Sweat won. That's what gives a guy like Jonathan Gannon credence for his not as aggressive scheme or philosophy as a defensive coordinator. Now, the problem here is that Jalen Hurts is going to have something completely different to face this week when he faces the New York Giants defense, because they blitz almost more than anybody in the NFL. So I'm not so worried about with Jonathan Gannon. I've accepted it with Jonathan Gannon. Now I'm worried about it from the other side and how it's really I've gotten to the point where I look at the coordinators and the coaches. This is Brian Daboll versus Jonathan Gannon as far as I'm concerned, this matchup here, because everybody else I have a lot of confidence in doing their job. Jonathan Gannon, I do have a little bit of a concern about what his defense is going to do against Brian Daboll's offensive mind.
And that's the other thing, right? So we're looking at this from a totally different way. If the Eagles blitz a lot this week, you would figure Saquan Barkley, they're going to counter by running Barkley.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a week that you really don't want to blitz. I think this is a week where you kind of dare Daniel Jones to say, you know what? Go beat us. And we'll see if you could do it. Because, I had my buddy Kevin Boylard on yesterday. It comes on every Wednesday. And we were laughing. We don't think we could name 5 wide receivers in the Giants. And he's a Giants fan.
Slayton isn't making his way into the conversation there. Worried about injury with him? What's going on? Nothing?
He made the greatest joke I think ever yesterday. Because he said, the NFC East is loaded with receivers: AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Terry McLaurin, and Darius Slayton.
That's some optimism right there. God.
Like he couldn't say it with a straight face. That was the best part.
Did it just pick him up in fantasy? Did he? Is that what he did there? No. Here's the thing, and I respect the Giants. I respect the turnaround that Brian Daboll's had with that team over the last couple over this year. The last couple of games, they haven't won in 5 weeks, which is insane. But for the most part this season, they've had a good year up until recently. They ran into some injuries and all that stuff. I respect that. But Daniel Jones does not scare me in the least. Of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, certainly of all the quarterbacks in the NFC East, the guy that scares me the least, the guy I respect the least, even less than Taylor Heineke, is Daniel Jones. Like, I know he's got a winning record against the Eagles. I know he's had good games against the Eagles. I know he's had some bad games against the Eagles as well. Daniel Jones doesn't scare me. If you allow the game plan to be Daniel Jones has to beat us, you win this game. And what goes in the Eagles' favor for this, and I know the Giants have had injuries on their offensive line. I know John Feliciano has missed a game or two. I know Evan Neal has missed some time as well, their right tackle. I know they have injuries on the defensive side of the football as well. But Saquon Barkley is averaging 2.8 yards per carry over his last 3 games. That's abysmal. He's had career worst day after career worst day when it comes to how he's been running the football. If the Eagles can somehow capitalize on that and keep the momentum that they had against Derrick Henry, then they're going to have a lot of success on both sides of the football. We're going to see a very similar game to what we saw last week against the Tennessee Titans. If they can mock that up again, make a guy like Daniel Jones beat you, then they're going to win this football game. Yeah,
the Giants have nobody on the interior on the offensive line that can protect anybody. Like, Nick Gates is eventually going to be the center of this team, I think, because they have to move Feliciano to the guard, and that's just not working out, but they don't have anybody. Mm-hmm. Everybody's hurt, and you're right. Like, Evan Neal was out a couple weeks. He's back now, but, I mean, really, on that offensive line, it's Andrew Thomas. and that's it. Which is why I don't think the Eagles they just need to generate pressure against this team. If they can't, then I'm going to be concerned.
Yeah.
They should be able to hold this team to under 17 points easily on Sunday.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they score about 20 points per game. That's what they average so far this season. But here's the thing that drove me crazy with Gannon when it comes to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is one of those quarterbacks you could force into making a mistake.
And he won't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Gannon will not do it. That drives me bonkers. I don't like the idea. And this is my biggest gripe with Jonathan Gannon. I know most people like to use the buzzword aggressive, not aggressive enough, whatever. But it's the idea of forcing. It's not like just the idea of getting the sack is great. But the idea of actually pressuring a quarterback is even better. Wink Martindale has that down pat for a team like the New York Giants and throughout his entire career as a coach in the NFL. Gannon needs to get with it a little bit when it comes to the idea of forcing a quarterback into making mistakes. Over last year, he did not do that with Daniel Jones. He allowed Daniel Jones to be comfortable. He did not rush the passer. He was not aggressive at all. You can force him into making mistakes by just applying that pressure, by sending a fifth man, sending a sixth man. Hey, let's go crazy. Send a sixth man. Go figure. Who would do that in the NFL? Only almost every other team. But when it comes to this, I think one thing he has to do is take a page out of Martindale's book and say, you know what? I can make Daniel Jones make a mistake in this. I'm not just going to wait for him to make the mistake. What I'm going to do in this particular game is make him make that mistake.
Yeah, and see, this is where I agree with you. I'm not a fan of blitzing, period. But there are certain teams I think you need to kind of do it. I think Sunday is one of those times because you know that their offensive line isn't good. And I think you can get away with sending. Daniel Jones is not going to beat you on 70 yards downfield.
Mm-hmm.
Not with that cast. Like, you have to say to yourself, I got Darius Slay. I got James Bradbury. Oh, by the way, this is a James Bradbury revenge game this week.
Oh, sure, certainly, yeah.
Yeah, so, it's crazy to think it's week 14, but this is a week where I'm saying, you know what? You're right. I think this is a good week where I'm going to Wink Martindale you. and I am going to send an extra rusher. I'm going to do a 5-man front. Because after I take Saquon Barkley out of the game, we're going to have some fun, and we're going to make Daniel Jones look like the terrible quarterback he probably is.
Uh-huh. Yeah, here's the thing, though. I agree with you. Let me get that out of the way. I don't think it's happening.
No, I don't think it is either.
But it's mostly because of that. It's because if I'm Jonathan Gannon and my philosophy is, hold on, I can have my corners back. I don't have to rush my linebackers. I just have my front four win their battles. If I can do that against a banged up or inferior offensive line and an inferior quarterback, I don't got to do anything. I can spell my guys the exhaustion of rushing. I can expel my guys with playing press coverage. Not that you really ever see them do that, but I can spell them from doing that in the game and have them sit back and wait for that interception or wait for that mistake because my front four is going to win their battle. So if I have confidence that Brandon Graham's going to win, Javon Hargrave's going to win, Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph, Fletcher Cox, if I have confidence, Hassan Reddick, if I have confidence those guys are going to win, I don't need to blitz. I don't need to be aggressive. I can just sit back and let those guys win those battles, and that'll be enough pressure for me. That'll be enough pressure for Daniel Jones. The problem was last year it was not. This year, hopefully it is.
Yeah. So if I have to criticize Jonathan Gannon, and there are a couple things to criticize him for, like, I think they're too passive on certain situations. Like, do I want them to send more guys on the 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9? Sure. I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is the whole let's play 12 yards back on 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. Definitely. That's what I don't like, because then you're relying on actually making the tackle, or a lot of crazy things can happen. Like, play up. If you give up 20 yards, so be it. Don't give up 20 yards because you gave them, a couple yards of cushion. I don't like that. And the second thing is, if I have to sit in that press box and watch Hassan Reddick drop back in coverage, I lose my mind. Mm-hmm. He hasn't done it a lot recently, but he has done it this year.
I felt like the Commanders game, and I'm not just saying that because it was a loss, but I felt like it was the Commanders game that it was just like, he can be aggressive, please. That's what he's really good at. That's why I brought him here. When Hassan Reddick was brought in and he did his press conference, I forget who asked him the question, but he said that the question was, when are you at your best, basically? And I love that question because it allows the athlete to kind of tell you, if you don't see the coach using me like this, scream and yell for me, okay? Yeah. And he said, I like to play fast. I like to play downhill. I like to be aggressive. Like, let me go out there and play fast football. And I'm like, okay. And then you see him drop back into coverage. And I'm like, did Jonathan Gannon not watch that press conference? Did he not see that? Here's what it does for me. Here's the analogy. It's not a glass half full or glass half empty analogy, but it's an analogy. Jonathan Gannon, to me, if he was a pitcher in baseball, he would just throw fastballs. He would just throw fastballs down the middle of the plate. You know why? Because it's hard to hit a baseball, and odds are you're not going to hit it out of the park, and it's not going to hurt you. Because if you just get maybe if you throw it away, 100 batters, you're going to get 80 of them out. You're going to get 300 of them, or 30 of them out. Like, it's hard to hit a baseball. Therefore, I'm not going to be aggressive and change my pitching. I'm just going to keep on throwing fastballs because it's hard to hit a baseball. And
you're right, because too much can go wrong if you throw that breaking pitch, because what if you hang the breaking pitch?
Right, exactly. Yeah, even more so, yes.
Yeah, so we do that in basketball, right? So everybody knows what we're going to do now. There's enough film on us. We shoot threes. Well, why don't they go inside? Why would I want to do that? Mm-hmm. Why would I want to go inside? So, yeah, you're right. That's what he's comfortable with. But by the way, I have to agree with your point on that question. What do you do best? I always tell people, if you want to get into journalism, if you want to get good answers from people, especially athletes, there's two questions. What do you do best? And what do you think you need to work on? Mm-hmm. It always works.
They're easy ones. But then, Jeff, every once in a while you get that. So what do you do best? And the guy's like, whatever the team needs. And I'm like, oh, God, boring. See ya.
Yeah, see, that's when you got to get creative. You got to reword it. Yeah. I did that to A.J. Brown this year, by the way. I kind of tricked him, and he's like, oh, no, I know what you're doing. I said, man, you're too smart. I'm like, I think some of these guys are prepared for every single scenario they get now.
Certainly. And you know what the follow-up to that is? This is my downshift. What do you do best? Whatever the team needs. Okay, great. Where are you most comfortable? That's my go-to. Right? That's my downshift question. Like, that didn't work. Mayday.
I asked one time what improvements you think you need to make to your game, and you said, well, I don't think I need to make any improvements. And I said, well, you allowed the 90 passer rating last year, so you clearly need to make some improvements.
Nice. Well, it's always good when you have that number right there, just sitting there waiting for them to shoot you down your question, and they're just like, yeah, how about this? And they're like, God damn it.
Yeah, right, it's like, and the worst thing they hate is a non-professional athlete doing it to them.
Right, exactly.
Like, it's not their coach, and we still know what the heck's going on.
Exactly.
Oh man, Mark. But switching gears here a little bit. Brian Dawkins said earlier this week to Fox, again, he's talked to a bunch of people. He talked to my buddy Jordan DeJaney, but he said he would even like the Eagles to get a little more creative with their blitzes. It wasn't a bad thing. I thought it was constructive criticism, but I'm like, what do people want? And like, this is Brian Dawkins here. This guy forgets more about football than I know. I love Brian Dawkins, but I'm like, dude, you do realize, like, in games Jim Johnson blitzed you, that was when the Eagles technically got beat. Mm-hmm. Like, I think on the Joe Jaravicious play against Tampa, if I'm not mistaken, was a play he was blitzing.
Off the top of my head, I can't see the way the play started. I know how it ended.
I hate how it ended.
still running down the sideline. I've talked to former Eagles that played for Jim Johnson, and Dawkins is one of them. Brian Dawkins is one of them. Whether it's Billy Davis. Okay.
Oh God.
Yeah, you're welcome. Put that back in your head.
By the way, isn't Billy Davis still in the league? I'm trying to remember where he's at.
I think he's with the Cardinals.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. He went back to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
I think he's a linebackers coach or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Whether it was Billy Davis or whoever, the idea of blitzing and being aggressive just kind of wasn't there. They would have, or even Dan Schwartz, even Jim Schwartz. The blitz wasn't there. The wide 9 was there. With Billy Davis, the 3-4 under with Connor Barwin was there. But the idea of a blitz and disguising blitzes was not a thing. And Jim Johnson, we all know, we were spoiled by that man. If you grew up watching that era, which we did, that was the way you just thought it was done. And then we have these other guys come in that have this other philosophy, and that's not the way it's done anymore, because you need more guys back in coverage because of the pass-happy league that it's become. But instead of saying, you know what, because it's so pass-happy, that gives me more opportunities to get to the quarterback to force a mistake or to get a sack or to push him back, they say, no, I'm going to sit back and wait for that interception and wait for them to make that bad throw. So when I think about a guy like Jonathan Gannon, I think about his scheme, his philosophy, and how he doesn't disguise blitzes well, and he uses the stats about when they blitz and when they don't blitz. It's all about not necessarily how often they blitz, but the style in which they blitz. Like, you don't see guys approach the line of scrimmage and then drop back, and then on the next play approach the line of scrimmage as the linebacker, whether it's CJ Edwards or whoever, and then attack the quarterback. They don't disguise it well. Even on the delayed blitzes, the few that you've seen so far this season with TJ Edwards in the middle of the field, like, only one really jumps to mind when I think about it. And he didn't get home on it, but at least he did it. It was at least an idea that Jonathan Gannon doesn't really present often to us as a fan base to watch every Sunday. But when you see him do it, you can see him have success if he keeps doing it, because he'll get better at it. So it's one thing that I think when you talk to Brian Dawkins, or you talk to Quentin Michael, for instance.
Yeah, he's
when
a
you
good
talk
one.
When you talk to these guys, like, I remember talking to Quentin Michael about it and be like, hey, so we sent 5 guys. And I remember Quentin Michael's exact words were, yeah, but those weren't really blitzes. And I'm like, wait, hold on a second. It's not really. He's like, that's only 5. That's not really a blitz. And I'm like, no, tell me you played in at least the Jim Johnson, Sean McDermott era without telling me you played in the Jim Johnson, Sean McDermott era. Like, that's the way you can describe it.
Yeah, so I watch a lot of old, I want to say, like, 90s Eagles, especially Dawkins' rookie year. And I remember Emmett Thomas. So they would send, I think it was like maybe 6 or 7 guys, and they send them all up the middle, right? And they force Troy Aikman to roll outside and he just get rid of the football. That's not a thing anymore. Yeah. And I wish people would realize that. Now they go outside and they either A, take off, or B, there's someone wide open downfield. Like, that's not a thing. And I kind of wish people would understand that. And I said earlier too, I would love to see, I know Seth Joyner is one of the biggest criticizers of Jonathan Gannon ever. I actually think Seth.
Oh, you don't say.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see Seth in this defense. I would pay huge money to see Seth in this defense, because I think he'd be an absolute stud.
I think Seth Joyner would quit the team. I think he'd go through 3 weeks and be like, oh, no, man. And then he'd be out. Like, it would drive him crazy. You know what, part of this defense.
You know what I think would drive him off? I think the minute he hits the quarterback, it gets 15 yards for just hitting the quarterback. Like, I feel bad for a lot of those guys. It's such a different NFL now than when they played.
It's unfair. It's not to go down that road, but it is. I used to, the joke used to be, oh, soon they'll be wearing flags. And now I'm like, that's not really a joke. That's actually a pretty good suggestion. Because why am I injuring quarterbacks? Why am I even hitting quarterback this way? You can't land on a quarterback. What? Like, I'm literally tackling him. How am I supposed to? You're supposed to roll your body. We've talked about it before, Jeff, but, like, I played the 1 year of freshman football for Archbishop Wood, right? You played 7 years. And it's like, even I, the biggest idiot in the world who couldn't tackle, there's, like, you can't not put your weight on a guy. Like, it happens by default. You
have to do it. Yeah, I'll tell you what. It's bad when Andy Reid flips out. I mean, Andy don't flip out over anything.
Right, yeah.
He was going nuts in that Monday night game. And but so this is a funny story. My dad took me to see The Soul back in, like, 2004. We just wanted to see what arena football was like, right?
Okay.
Just out of curiosity. And we enjoyed it. It was fun. And my dad's like, you know what? The NFL is going to do something like this. You know that, right? It's going to be glorified arena football in about 10 years. Boy, did he hit the nail on hit the nail in the coffin.
Wow.
It literally is like glorified arena football now. Everything's about fantasy. Everything's about gambling. Everything's about, everybody likes 35 to 32 games, but the 10-7 games, you don't see anymore. That's terrible football. Like, Ravens Broncos was terrible football, but 25 years ago, you loved a game like that.
I was probably a production assistant at that game for NBC. I was still in college, and I was probably running around behind the scenes doing stuff at that very game that you were at the very game that your dad dropped brilliance. And he's absolutely right. When you think about, like, I don't think a sport has changed more than football has changed in my lifetime. I mean, basketball, the style has changed in terms of, it's a 3-point league and all that, which I don't necessarily, I like the era that we grew up with in the 90s with that hard-nosed basketball. And when you shoot a 3, one good thing can happen. You hit the 3. When you drive the lane, 2 good things could happen. You could get somebody in the foul trouble and you could get points. So to me, I just like that style of basketball more than just, jacking up 3s all day. But football, you literally can't tackle like you used to tackle. And I'm not talking about defenseless receivers. The idea, again, of putting weight on a quarterback is ridiculous to me. Where you hit a quarterback now with the Brady rule is ridiculous to me. The whatever the hell pass interference is has always been a problem. I know people like to highlight that, but no one ever knows what pass interference is anymore. The contact on a receiver, the defenseless receiver, the helmet-to-helmet rule is the most pick and choose your spots rule in the history of sports, because you see guys get dinged helmet to helmet on so many different plays. Whenever they show a replay of whether it's a fumble, whether it's a guy even getting tackled out of bounds, whatever it is, you see Jalen Hurts on quarterback sneaks, heads down, going across the middle, ding, ding, ding across the helmet, and still nothing. And I just think the game has changed from the essence of it so much that if you even took someone that didn't watch football in 10 years ago to now, it's a completely different game. And I like the way it was. I understand it's safer now, and that should be a huge goal. But I think we have come to a point where we've gotten ridiculous with the rules. When you say you can't land on a quarterback, that's like, okay, fine. Like, it's bonkers to me.
So one rule drove me nuts. I was watching Dallas at Indy on Sunday night. I watched it wasn't live when it happened, but I was rewatch the game when I get home, and the CeeDee Lamb touchdown where it looks like he's tackled, but his body never touched the ground or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, come on, like, are we really gonna say he's not down there? Like they do not favor defenders at all. No wonder why no one blitzes, because when you blitz, you're going full speed at somebody and you're gonna hit them. And again, everybody goes, well, oh, it's great Tom Brady plays till he's 45. I'm like, yeah, I guess why? He doesn't get hit. No one gets hit anymore. The people who get hit are the Lamar Jacksons, the Josh Allens, the Jalen Hurtses. By the way, Josh Allen pointed out something very interesting to me last week when I interviewed him. I asked him, why do you think people are against quarterbacks that run? He couldn't give me an answer. He goes, he said, I don't know. Yeah, it's weird, right? You know, he said you get 15 yards and people are upset by that. I mean, think about that. You're running like Jalen Hurts. Now it's not a big deal because he throws the football really well. But remember, everybody hated how he got touchdowns. I'm like, you hate points.
Here's my thing. I like Carson Wentz running was dumb. Like when he would run, it was dumb. It was just stupid because he would take hits. He wouldn't get rid of the football. He'd fight for the extra right. He would act like he wouldn't even act like a running back. He'd act like a fullback. Like, dude, what are you doing? Jalen Hurts, 9 times out of 10, is making the smart read, the smart play. He's getting out of bounds, or he's throwing the football away, or he's sliding, or he's diving out of bounds. Like when he runs, I think he runs with great awareness. There are quarterbacks that are reckless. I don't think he's reckless. Few and far between do I see Jalen Hurts take off and there be an open receiver 10 yards in front of him that he could have just dunked the ball down to, or dink the ball down to. There was one play in the Packers game where he had Miles Sanders open on the sideline about 10 yards in front of him.
Yeah, Gainwell open too.
Gainwell. Okay, maybe it was Gainwell, not Miles Sanders. And he had him open and he decided to run and get the first down, but he took an unnecessary hit. I don't like the coach I don't like Nick Sirianni putting Jalen Hurts in as many of those, first and goal from the one scenarios where it's a quarterback sneak. I think your first attempt every time should be hand the ball to a running back, see if they can score it, rather than have Jalen Hurts dive headfirst over the line of scrimmage trying to get the goal, trying to get the touchdown.
It's not like Jalen Hurts is. I think everybody still criticizes it. Remember the RG3 play from 10 years ago when Washington was playing Baltimore? It looked like he was going to go out of balance, and he cut back in the middle of the field. And that's when he injured the knee. Yeah. Like the first injury of the knee.
Yes.
And I'm thinking to
myself, then they came back. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. Like I can't believe he actually came back on the field then. I'm like, what a stupid play. What a stupid way. By the way, Kyle Shanahan was on that staff. By the way, Kyle Shanahan finally over 500 as a head coach.
Hey, what a great day.
I love Kyle Shanahan, but man, did they overrate him.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. So anyway, going a little bit off topic here, but it's just weird, right? You criticize the running quarterbacks for now they're smart at doing it. Like everybody gets upset. Like Alan told me, everybody gets upset when he lowers his shoulder and just bullies down the guy and gets an extra 5 yards. I'm like, but the guy's 6'6", like 260.
Yeah. He's not a small. Yeah, he's not a small guy. Yeah, I would still rather not see my quarterback do that. I admire that they want to do it, but you better come out on the other side okay. That's the thing. I love that you're fighting for yards. I love that. I love the mentality. A, protect the football. B, protect yourself. Okay. And I don't want especially for Josh Allen, especially if you're Jalen Hurts, if you're getting MVP consideration at any point, you don't want that guy taking that big hit. You don't want that guy getting hit when he doesn't need to at any time. And even though you're huge, even though you're a monster like Josh Allen is, please, by all means, protect the football and protect yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's a concern now, right? It's not that Jalen Hurts is a top 15 quarterback. He's a top 5 quarterback.
Yes, definitely.
He is the MVP frontrunner. You cannot win the Super Bowl without Jalen Hurts. I no disrespect to Gardner Minshew because they could do it. We've seen this story play out,
right?
But no, I don't think you need Jalen Hurts. Like your best chance to win the Super Bowl is with a top 5 quarterback in this league, and Jalen Hurts is one of those guys, and the Eagles are absolutely loaded. So, yeah, like you do not want to see him get hurt. That's my biggest fear Sunday because that MetLife Stadium turf is a joke.
I am all for all grass stadiums all the time. I am all for it. I don't like turf. I've run on turf. I installed turf in my backyard because I have a small city backyard, and it's better for my daughter to run around on. But when it comes to everything else, I'm all grass all the time, man. I hate any semblance of it. The worst for me, I remember going across the field in Indianapolis, like I forget what it's called, next turf with the pellets.
Yeah. There's pellets all over the place.
You couldn't walk across that field. Walk across the field, Jeff, without getting pellets in your shoes. It's annoying as hell. And then we get instant replays of the pellet going up and getting in the guy's eyes. It's ridiculous. Now, the soft tissue injuries, the turning ankles, everything like that. I hate turf. And yeah, you just hope that your guys come out on the other side of the game healthy and ready to play for the next week.
First time I ever played on turf, this was 10th grade, right? And so we're doing warm-ups, and I'm like, why do my legs feel funny? and I'm like, this is the same thing as grass, right? And it wasn't. Like, it was softer to land on. But I'm like,
sure.
But I'm like, if it's something minor like that, I can't imagine going as a pro athlete full speed. I think eventually every stadium's going to be grass. Like, remember 30 years ago, we thought all stadiums were going to be turf?
Oh, yeah. And have roofs?
Yeah, and people still want a roof in Philadelphia. I'm like, I don't want Philadelphia to ever get a roof. I don't want a Super Bowl. I could care less if Philadelphia gets a Super Bowl.
Right. What was it? If you talk to a volleyball player, and it's not this drastic, but it's definitely a difference. Talk to a volleyball player that plays on hardwood. Talk to a volleyball player that plays on the beach.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not that drastic, but it is a very different concept. Again, not that drastic, but you still got to prepare yourself to play on that surface. And I think NFL players have to do that something similar to what guys like that have to do.
Well, I'll say it this way: if I ever played volleyball, I'd be diving on the beach. I don't think I'd be diving on the hardwood.
Now, come on, man. Sell out for the team.
Not on the hardwood. Like, even when I play basketball, when I do, I was taking the charge. I'm like, this is going to hurt. I'm like, I don't know what's going to hurt more. A body landing on me or me actually landing the back of my head on that hardwood floor. It's not fun. Like, there's a difference between sacrificing your body on grass and turf compared to the hardwood.
Oh, no. I was the kid on the ground all the time, man. I was diving for every loose ball, man. I was a monster. I was a warthog, man.
I would have hated you.
You probably would have hated me because you know why? You would have got my elbow in your teeth in the boards. No, I love that stuff, man. Because I knew no one else was going to do it, so I was like, oh, that's mine. Oh, that's my ball. Ball and nobody's ball. How about that?
I used to be the jerk because I would do it too, but I would say, you know why you do it? Because you're like me. You're not that good.
Exactly. Gotta prove my worth to this team somehow.
Yeah, exactly. It's instead of telling people that they're worthless or they don't have anything, you gotta do something to stand out. You're right, and that was always the play. But before I let you go, Mark, I do have to ask you: there's no way the Eagles lose this division, right? There's no way.
No, there's no way the Eagles lose this division. There's no way the Eagles are not the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. And I had this conversation. I talked about it earlier today, but I had this conversation with a buddy of mine. We were texting back and forth. And he's like, I don't know if I believe in this Eagles team. I go, what do you mean? And he's like Super Bowl. And like for me, I love this team. I absolutely love this team. Jalen Hurts, I am dazzled by. Like, how do you not root for Jalen Hurts, right? Look, I know Jonathan Gannon gets a lot of criticism. I'm included in that criticism. I know you have your criticism of him. We just talked about it. Seth Joyner certainly is the king of the criticism when it comes to Jonathan Gannon criticism. But for me, I love this team. They are great. This is a defense that's a top 10 defense. This is an offense. This is a top 2 offense. This is a quarterback that's an MVP candidate. Miles Sanders is having a career year. You got the 2 best corners in the NFL. You're 11-1. And people are like, well, can we talk about – did you hear Nick Sirianni get asked about the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I did see that yesterday. I'm like, what?
Now, Jeff McClain asked the question. This is not a knock on Jeff. Jeff does an amazing job. Yeah.
Jeff, I will read any one of Jeff's articles because
he's phenomenal.
They all got something in there.
And I think the question, like, he was going down the path of, do you think about the Super Bowl? And also the path of how good is it to have guys with Super Bowl experience on your coaching staff and in the locker room? And I think that was more the point of his question, but the way it came off was, do you ever think about the Super Bowl? And Nick Sirianni was like, not for a second. And that got me thinking about, well, hold on a second. This team's 11-1, MVP quarterback, great defense, great running back, all this stuff, career year running back, all this stuff is great. But we don't talk about the Super Bowl yet. I felt like in the year with Carson Wentz in 2017, we were talking about him being an MVP. I don't know if we were talking about them winning a Super Bowl, even when they won 9 in a row. So it's like the Super Bowl conversation or championship conversation in general, whether it's the Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, oh God, Eagles. I feel like we always are. I feel like in Philadelphia, we're always the last to the party of starting the conversation about a championship.
I think that's what made 2004 so much fun because they were so close and you knew it. You knew that team was going.
Yeah, that was the only time.
I think even with the T.O. injury, I still said they're still the best team. I mean, like they've been in the NFC. It was getting over that hump, and they did. And I'm like, okay, that's when I started getting nervous because I'm like, okay, now they're here. What's going to happen? Mm-hmm. Because they're playing the team that they could have easily been that whole run. Like everybody says, Patriots dynasty, first dynasty. I'm like, yeah, the Eagles are literally like a game away from being the Patriots.
It's amazing,
all the time. It's crazy, but. Tone's telling me I gotta wrap it up, Mark.
Oh, come on, Tone.
Come on, man. I mean, you know what? Put us on with McMullen.
Just real quick, I don't know if anyone introduces me better than Tone introduces me. Like the way he talks to me up before the segment when I come up. It's great stuff, man. It's great.
Yeah, I need Tone DeShields to actually hype up our basketball team, but more importantly, hype up Coach Kerr.
Definitely.
Tone says he loves you, by the way.
Back at you, Tone. Back at
you. So Marc Farzetta, you can find him on the Farsi Show every day, 6 to 7?
6 to 7 live, yeah.
Yeah, you can find him live. You can always stream it, by the way. You don't have to get up at 6 o'clock to watch Marc Farzetta.
Yeah, just after 7, after Jeff's off. After Jeff's done.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, also you can find Marc Farzetta on the JAKIB Media pregame show, which, by the way, I do recommend you watch live.
Yeah, we have a good time. We always have a good time on that show.
All right, Mark, once again, always a pleasure, my friend. I'll have to get you on probably another week or two, and we can talk glass half empty. We can talk TGIF. We can talk whatever the heck you want.
Oh, my God. TJ, we missed out on that conversation this time around, friend.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what? You're the one who brought it up last time, so it's
That's correct. That's guilty. Totally guilty.
All right, Mark. I'll talk to you soon.
See you, man. Thanks very much. See you guys.
Yeah, see you, bye. All right, and